Hey everyone, it is Sean here at the Brass Cellar, or Le Brass Cellar. So, we are going to talk today about a serious topic, and it's to do with modified instruments versus stock instruments, and how that might affect things. So, the number one question would be, when you're modifying an instrument, is it going to affect the value of the instrument? And the answer is yes and no. Let me explain. The first thing is, when you modify an instrument, the primary reason that most people are doing it is to improve the performance of the instrument. So you're improving some aspect of it. You might be changing out a lead pipe, a bell, adding caps, adding finger buttons, with the goal of changing the performance or changing the ergonomics or changing the aesthetics of the instrument. When you do that, that will increase the value to a subset of people. On the other hand, you have the collector, who would probably prefer to have the instrument as original as possible and will completely tell you to no, never change the instrument. And those people are right too. So which category do you fall into will really determine what the value might be to a prospective person, if you're looking at selling the instrument. So with the players, they are looking for an increase in performance, and therefore if you modify the instrument, the desirability goes up to that group of people. If you have a collector and you have an instrument and you modify it, typically the value and the desirability goes down to that subset of people. So this is why you have so much conflict on forums, because you've got two people coming from two different points of views trying to argue out a point, and pretty much it typically, dissolves into nothing and no one really decides. But this is my opinion on why there's conflict within some of those. So again, primarily people are trying to improve performance when they're doing modifications. And that's to increase some aspect of their playing and performance. So some common modifications might be trim kits, finger buttons. We might change the lead pipe out so we can change the blow of the instrument. Very common. C trumpet and orchestral players always changing the lead pipes out, or tweaking those Bach Cs to improve the tuning, improve the intonation, improve the way that it plays, because they need absolute accuracy when they're trying to nail those notes. So typically, most modified instrument is probably one of the Bach C trumpets. Just a general statement, not entirely true to everyone, so don't flame me for that one. And then you've got people that are just changing for aesthetics, etc. So the reason I wanted to bring this up, I've actually got two instruments here. I've got a relatively stock instrument, and then I've got one of my BC Heritage horns, which is a modified version of that instrument. So the instrument I have right here is a pretty stock Martin, Indiana B-flat trumpet from the 1950s. Everything's kind of stock. It has its original lacquer, etc. The serial number range is in the 38,000. Now just remember, the Indianas have a different serial number range to the rest of the Martin horns, and I do not have that serial number list on my Martin database at this stage. But it's relatively stock. It has been modified to improve the performance with the unsoldering of these braces. Kevin Powers did this. He knows how to get the most out of a horn, even a 1950s student model. That is a stock instrument. Then I have exactly the same instrument. Let me just clip that over here. Now when I say the same instrument, it has the same valve block. It has the similar braces that we used on the stock version. It has the same mouthpiece receiver. It's been tweaked. The lead pipe's been tweaked a little bit. You've still got the same stock tuning slides. Now, what are the modifications on this instrument? The modifications are with Amato water keys. It's a really common upgrade. Not very expensive either. If you're taking that into a tech, it's probably half an hour's work for them to do. The bracing, slightly different position. We've added a finger ring versus the standard hook on the other one. Added a nickel trim kit, which is from Indiana also, but a different era. I just think the nickel looks a little bit nicer. We've upgraded the finger buttons to natural stone. This is a snakeskin jasper. There's been some tweaks to do with the bracing on here, but the number one biggest upgrade on this instrument is the Lawler C7 gold brass bell versus the stock bell. Now have a little listen to this. What I might do is actually turn on my mic right here, over here, so if it doesn't pick it up on here, we'll definitely pick it up here. And listen to this. Okay, so that's the stock bell, and here is the C7 bell. Definitely a little bit more ring in there, a bit more vibrancy. This kind of upgrade is probably the most expensive. Upgrading from a mass-produced bell to a handmade bell is going to be a significant upgrade in terms of costs. Now, if you go online and look at some sellers, they're selling something like a Bach bell. I'm talking about brand new here. You're probably looking 400 plus. If you go online, I believe you can still order Calicchio Bells. I think they start at 900. I think they're 900 to 1100 for a bell. So a handmade Lawler bell is a significant expense, typically. So there's a bit of a price difference between these two models based on the fact that this is quite a significant investment. So is it worth the investment? So we're going to turn on my little recording over here, and I may edit this into the final video. My G's a bit flat. Anyway. Okay, now we're going to swap over to BC6. Yeah, so there's one sound sample. Let's try something I can play off the top of my head. We'll swap over to the stock instrument. I can immediately tell, and I haven't done this test before, but let me switch this off. I can tell that with the Lawler bell, the sound is much more opened up. It's actually easier to play. I feel like this one, when I switch back, is restricting the sound a little bit. Now that may not come across on a microphone like this, just because the fact that it's designed to be a compact mic. But quite interesting. So, to go back to my original point, modified versus stock. Should I do it? Should I not do it? I say do it. The reason being, now with a proviso, don't do it with a really nice instrument that you know, is basically original. If it was like, you know, sitting in the original case, it's beautiful, like a little bit like this one here. Now I could have chosen to modify this instrument and do an upgrade on this. I did not, because I respect the fact that it's lasted so long, and the fact that all it needed was a little bit of tweaking. I don't like the fact that we had to lose some lacquer on this, but there's enough of the original on there that it's not such a big deal, and the upgrade in performance by just doing that little tweak is significant, so it's worth it. So there's an example of a fairly stock instrument with a minimal tweak, which is going to increase the value and desirability because it plays so much better. Now, going to something like this, which is a little bit more of a serious upgrade, yeah, it makes a significant difference. And the fact that I can reuse some of the old parts from yesteryear and bring it new life and give it a little bit more edge and basically build something completely different in the way that it's set up, that's exciting. And I think we should always be experimenting with those kind of tweaks and modifications. Now again, have I increased the value of the original instrument? Of course I have. Those significant upgrades, I didn't do the modifications myself. I had a professional person, in this case Kevin Powers, who has some serious pedigree behind him, perform these upgrades. And then, you know, if I didn't use Kevin Powers, I would use Josh Landris, who does a lot of work for me also. I would use one of those two guys and my two main guys for any modifications. I use them because they absolutely know that if they change one part of the instrument, there's a chain ripple, and you need to look at different elements. As you change that one element, you need to go and make sure the rest are in balance. It's all about a balance throughout the instrument. So I hope you found this topic interesting. It's interesting the fact that you can side by side a stock versus a modified. I think the debate still exists, modified versus stock, but I still say if you've got an instrument and you want to experiment with it in terms of modifications, go for it. You never know where you might end up. Don't be scared to experiment. So what do you think? Leave me a like, leave me a comment, you know, contact me, do what you want to do. But I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be putting out videos. I hope you find them interesting, and I'll see you on the next one.